Welcome to the podcast designed to fuel your success in selling technology solutions. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus, and this is Next Level Biz Tech. Everybody, welcome back. Today we're talking about AI at the helm and transforming SOC operations. And if you don't know what SOC operations is, we're going to get into it. It's security, it's fun, and we're going to talk about AI. So with us today, we have got returning guest, third-time returning guest here, and Senior Field Solution Engineer at Telarus, Jason Kaufman. Jason, welcome on, man.
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me. I appreciate after the year of hiatus of the first two, and now happy to be on the third one here to talk about SOCs.
Well, the last guy bailed, so we're super excited to have you on.
No. I'm always happy being the last one chosen. I was the same way in kickball in high school, so now I'm happy it came into my professional career.
Oh, I love it. Now everybody loves Jason Kaufman. Let's kick this thing off with some mentorship, lessons learned. Take us back a few years, something that share with the group, something you've learned, like I said, from a mentor, or just something you learned the hard way.
Yeah, let me think of all the things that my boss Josh Lopresto told me. No, so a good one I had at a previous role was it's been sitting with me for a long time because it affects many different like processes that I deal with, from communication to just establishing rapport, relationships, and all that stuff. Is the one term of perception is reality, to where you're always trying to recognize what the other person perceives as what you're doing for them and communicating with them, the relationship there. And that's really their reality. So when it comes to like somebody asking you a question, it's just as simple as an interaction on, hey, who can do this? One of the things we live and breathe on in the sales engineering side, if you don't know the answer right away and you're starting to go research it for them, just having that quick acknowledgement email gives them the perception that you are working on it, you have their back, and you're going to get them a response as quick as possible. So it's just that, something that could be really easily done and just goes a long way with people. And that's where one of the things that's really hit home in everything that I try to do is that perception on, I want to make sure that person feels like that I'm doing everything I can for them and they know that I'm actively doing that.
Awesome. It's a good one. I love that. So since the last time we had you on the podcast, lots of crazy stuff that's happened with AI. Some of it's been just marketing collateral. Some of it's been meaningful product things. But what's some of the most compelling things that you've seen so far, and how would you say that that's impacted your work?
Yeah, great question. I think it's around the transformer architecture. I know we'll get into kind of what that does when it breaks it down to, hey, how are we going to get this response and build it by algorithms that say this should be the next word in the phrase, or how do I understand something that's given to me? And one thing that helps me out tremendously is coming up with content, and a lot of that comes around like discovery questions. So if somebody comes to me and is like, hey, I have a customer that's interested in this, help me gear some questions for them that I can ask where I can come back and see if it's a legitimate opportunity before I pull you on to the conversation. And, you write into something like Gemini or Perplexity or, even ChatGPT, hey, give me 10 questions on this. They'll spit you out 7 or 8 good ones, and then you just got to fine tune it and take it from there. I mean, it's not going to be perfect every time. So I wouldn't say it'd be ideal to say, give me 10 questions, copy, paste it. You definitely want to have some knowledge on it to say, yeah, it's a good question. No, it's not a relevant question anymore. But something like that to where it significantly impacts how long it takes me to come up with that question. Even though I know the content, you're just sitting there staring at a screen, hands on the keyboard, and you're just like frustrated because pen to paper is not working very well. That's a big one. And then also like summarizing stuff. So like I use it a lot if some new technology comes up, somebody's like, hey, what's this application do? Or what's this type of technology? Just a quick, hey, treat me like I'm a teenager. That response goes a long way into a generative AI, and teach me about this. And then you can take it from there to where you can easily explain it to somebody. You can deep dive into the technology and, figure out the intricacies of it, or, it helps you really understand things super quick.
Yeah, I love it. I think that was one of the first ones that I saw. Explain it to me like I'm 5, or give me quantum mechanics, quantum computing like I'm 5, right? And it's a fascinatingly, even to help us who we do understand what quantum computing is, it helps us understand it so much better just hearing it different. So yeah, I love great points there, killer stuff. Okay, so you're in a lot of discovery calls, right? You're very customer facing. The partners are bringing into you a lot of these different things. So before we step into kind of the AI and SOC parts, one final thought on, What's a misconception or just something surprising that you get as you step into this AI security, any of these kind of conversations?
The biggest misconception I see is people thinking that AI is just going to work. You turn it on and it's going to be the ideal situation. Everything's going to be gravy, and your operational efficiencies are going to go through the roof. Your revenue is going to be maxed. It's going to give you everything you need just by turning it on. So a lot of it started on, hey, I saw these, I need to implement Copilot. I just need to talk about the 5 different types of licenses that there are from Microsoft. Which one do you think I need? And like, hold on a second. There's a lot more you need to do here, or else you're going to have employees access to information you don't want them to. Plus, Copilot's going to tell you the ins and outs of I don't know. You type a question and it's not going to have the data that needs to respond effectively. So it's going to tell you I don't have an answer to this. That's when we whole start to hallucinations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's taking a step back and saying, hey, before you're looking at implementing AI, one, let's define what you're talking about with AI. Is it, you want to define a large language model? Do you want a data pipeline to get some business intelligence out of this? Do you want to do robotics process automation and get rid of some manual workflows? But ultimately, it all starts off with data science and saying, hey, what data do we have? Is it correct? Let's classify it and make sure we're not going to have any leakage to somebody that shouldn't be seeing this data. Because if you have a large language model has access to your entire tenant of data, it doesn't know who has access to what. It's going to give them a spit out unless it can recognize a tag or something like that that says, hey, this data is super secret to the company.
Yeah, good point. And it seems like a dramatic. It just seems like nobody's thinking that through, and people are finally. I mean, it's so logical, right? But yeah, the marketing is always fascinating in this stuff, as opposed to how it really happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, and a fun fact is if you go on like Copilot, Microsoft marketing architecture, we always call it. It says, hey, just implement Copilot, and the users only see what they have access to through RBAC control. So my role dictates what I have access to. But what we find out in practicality is no, that's at the tenant level. So you have somebody like me, a low level employee, I could type in and see whatever I want about the company, as assuming there's no data classification that's been done and guidelines around that.
Yeah, great points. All right, so let's get into, we're talking security operations center, we're talking AI, we're talking transformation. So you got AI productizing all over, but it seems like security's had components of anomaly detection and, little bits of, maybe we didn't call it AI, but it's had it for a while. So if you see somebody, out there, these SOCs, these outsourced SOCs that we're looking to do, and helping customers, where do you see AI productizing in this?
Yeah, I mean, everything's all about that telemetry and the anomaly detection. So what we've seen is like, even if you're looking at any EDR, XDR provider, CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, Carbon Black, Defender, all of them have some form of AI that says, hey, we're going to establish a baseline that we're going to notify if something falls outside of that, the anomaly. But what is going to be the most way to make a SOC super efficient? So, now the big thing is, hey, I need a SOAR. I need to have something that automates run books to where when anomaly is detected, it can automatically see and actually react to it to a certain level to where it's containing that potential breach or that malware or whatever it is, and then allowing somebody to go in and investigate. So now the big things with AI that we're seeing is SOCs are leveraging the generative AI tooling. I mean, you've seen companies leveraging the Elastic, that they brought in a generative AI tool into that. They've used the Microsoft Copilot that's built on Sentinel. You have eCentire that just released theirs. So you're having this large database of all these different, threat vectors and attack vectors, all that stuff, all put in, including like the common vulnerabilities and all that stuff. And what it does, it allows somebody that is not a, very, proficient SOC analyst be able to do a job of somebody that's higher up, because the system's telling them, hey, this is what we'll recognize. Here's all the history on it. And then here's the, 5 steps to take to, resolve the issue. So where SOCs are coming in is they're layering those automation run books and using the generative AI tools to make it more efficient for the people that are there, because then they're cutting costs for how they're, eventually going to turn that back on to the customers.
Does it ultimately, we talk a lot about, job shortages in security. It seems like we've been talking about that 3, 4, 5 years in a row now, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Does this ultimately, not only, I guess, make everybody faster and more efficient, but does it allow us to someday close that gap on the security jobs because we can bring others into the fold and give them the tools to make them even a little more efficient or shore up any lack of knowledge a little quicker?
I think it would decrease training time and allow somebody to like if you see any job rec right now for a SOC analyst, say, hey, this is an entry level SOC analyst needs 10 years of experience. We're not going to see that type of environment anymore. It's going to be, hey, we can augment and train as you go, but you're going to have, AI, augmenting you along the way. That's kind of where everybody's saying, AI is not going to replace jobs. It's going to augment people and it'll replace people that don't use AI. So the same thing can be said about SOC analysts. If you can have something dummied down to where you have a run book that's either automated on the back end to where everything's already contained, you don't have the pressure, or it's telling you what you need to do to be effective as part of that job, just like we have agent assist on the contact center side. How much easier is it going to be to have increased quality and decreased quantity of a SOC team and make it way more efficient on the same time? I mean, we're going to be doing that across the board.
So let's shift this now then to the customer side. So, all right, I'm a partner. I'm listening. I want to get a little bit deeper and kind of uncover the need with what's the common thread or complaints that my customers are having. So, what do you see in these discovery discussions that prospective customers related to security and related to SOC that we can kind of help probe deeper in and uncover for the other partners listening?
Yeah. So the first one is like the ROI conversation. A lot of the customers have been burned before. They had like a local MSP that handled their SOC, and they found they got breached anyways to where there's no immediate remediation. They found out the person was in their network for 200 days. There was no backups being done that they could restore to. So there wasn't true mitigation techniques. I mean, we always assume that breach is going to occur. It's not good to sit there and say it's never going to happen. But what mitigation techniques and what is your RTO, RPO policies to get back online, business continuity plans and all that stuff? If you don't have all that defined, then you're obviously going to get probably burned by somebody that doesn't know how to do that stuff. So it's, those are generally the more cost-effective providers out there. Somebody tried to outsource them before. So now they're in the ROI of, do we outsource again and try this again, or do we build it out internally? And then it's looking at, what does it cost to stand up, a SOC team? You got the tools, you got the implementation of it, you got the SOC analysts. What do they cost? Do you need, why do you need more than one? Who's going to govern all this stuff? IT it's not something that IT can just absorb. So then we get into that conversation and they're like, oh no, automation can handle all that. We just need a SOAR. And it's like, well, SOARs have to define the playbooks. They have some pre-built ones, but it's not going to handle everything. So you need some form of human component here in order to take it over. So then it starts talking to, okay, so what is this going to cost us to do? What is this going to cost to outsource? And then it always comes back on, okay, so, this is what it's going to cost us. Unfortunately, I don't have that in my budget, but I know I need it. After talking with us, we tell them all the different stuff that's going on, how to mitigate all these different potential threats. How do they afford it now? So that's the cool part about being, an agnostic engineer that's spread across the entire portfolio is now we can look at other avenues like, hey, there's other ways that we can open up that budget by saving costs across different technology spends, above and beyond just what a normal circuit aggregation can do. That's where we're pulling in like mobility. We're looking at FinOps for cloud stuff. We're looking at optimizing their networking gear if they need to do a complete refresh, talk the difference between a CapEx and OpEx model, what's going to open up their budget and make it more friendly to them. So it's more on just, hey, here's your options. It is, hey, let's help you push through that and open up that option for you to where you don't have that hard decision. We need to go back and ask more money from your C-levels.
Yeah, that was, it's an incredible example because I think, we talk about this a lot. Hey, bring a Telarus sales engineer in. We'll help you find more and uncover the, this deal and blah, 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 and give you, all these extra resources. And obviously all of that's true, but that's such a good example of how we do that when you would think, geez, I'm just going to bring Jason in for a security conversation. It's just a conversation about SOC. Well, anything that's just a conversation about something is never just a conversation about something. And so I think it's so cool to see what you do in these discovery conversations, right? Hats off to you, because a deal that starts with one thing never ends up with more, with just that one thing. It's always more. And there's such a mutual benefit there, right? The partner's eyes are opened at all of these other possibilities that relate, this technology relates to this technology. And you always see the customer going, oh, geez, I didn't think of that, right? So, okay, yeah, Utopia, they buy everything today, right? That's not always reality. But the reality is you've helped them uncover the things that they need to do. And maybe they thought about it, but you've now just put it right in front of them where they go, okay, I have to do something on this. So just kudos to you on kind of your process. And anybody that hasn't pulled you in that's listening to this, you're doing a disservice to yourself. So leverage this guy because he will help you in these. And it's just a fun experience to watch.
Thank you for the compliments.
You bet. All right, let's go. Let's talk about the AI shift a little bit more. So the partners that are listening to this, there's so much information out there, right? We talk about, well, listen on Twitter, get into this forum, try not to get too deep into this subreddit, go to Medium, listen to all these places, right? So for the partners out there, from your perspective, right, where you see how we help them, what they focus on, how would you advise them to kind of research and absorb or absorb and apply some of this and try to understand what's different with all this product coming out?
Yeah, the one thing is, we always tell everybody is, try to see through the market texture. Find people that you trust that, are industry leaders. They have a good grasp of everything that's going on in the marketplace. They have the podcasts and blogs that they follow on their own, and just, share and have a full knowledge sharing team. One thing that I always recommend is, if you're going to do your own research, you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. There are plenty of blogs out there that are just like a TLDR, too long didn't read. They'll summarize everything that's going on, or you can even leverage AI for that. There's many times where I come in the morning and I go on, Gemini, Perplexity, or even Grok and say, hey, spit me out, the 20 most recent news articles on what's going on in the marketplace for cybersecurity, AI, cloud, and all that stuff. And then you have all the up-to-date information that's summarized right there for you. And you could deep dive into something that sounds interesting. But I would be impressed if I didn't mention that the Next Level Business Tech podcast is probably one of the best places to get all this up-to-date information. And then also the Kaufman Chronicles. Make sure there's a "the" there. TheKaufmanChronicles.com is another good one.
It's just a love fest today, guys. It's just, we're trying to give you a wealth of information to help you at the end of the day. We're not doing this. I mean, it is fun, but we're not doing this for fun. There is huge value in this, and I hope what you get out of this is just a glimpse into kind of what others are doing and what's successful, so that you can stay focused on what's working and pay attention to that. So I love that. I want to add a part 2 to that, right? So you've got that barrage of information. You've sent them to places that they can go listen and learn. How do you see, you got Microsoft obviously leading this out with Copilot. You got Gemini. You got just, OpenAI on its own. How do you think that impacts things? Are they the leaders in this over the next couple of years? Does the second to market that we don't even know who it is yet blow this thing out of the water? What's just Jason's perspective on this?
So I tested quite a few of these, and I would say it comes down to not only speed and efficiency, but also accuracy is a big important one. Like if you're leveraging OpenAI's and you're doing the free version, you're only on GPT 3.5. That's legacy data from like 2022. So I mean, you're not looking at data that could be relevant. So when you ask it a question and ask it for the latest and greatest stuff, it's not going to have that answer. So you either need to be on Microsoft Copilot that's using, through OpenAI integration that's using like GPT-4, or paying the $20 a month to have access to GPT-4, if I could say that 10 times real fast, or leverage something that's real time like Gemini, or my favorite one that I've been using a lot for, because I know it's focused on accuracy, like it takes that M-score, that confidence factor, and applies it to all of its results that it does, is that Perplexity. I mean, you're using it for something where you need to write a paper on something, or I even use it for the blogs a lot. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a blog on this. Give me some data points that would be great for this, and some articles that I can read attached to it. And it'll attach those articles on behalf of the result, so you can deep dive into it right there. It's like a really cool focused Wikipedia page where you scroll to the bottom and see all the scholarly articles that everything was written on. So I think it's going to maximize efficiency, but we're going to see ones that come out with, hey, we're going to have an accuracy score of this. We're going to promise this. It's going to be more of like an SLA, I think, to where we're going to promise this level of accuracy. And, you're obviously going to continuously train it with a thumbs up and thumbs down. But yeah, taking it all back and summarizing again, I think, in order, Perplexity would probably be the top one. Gemini would be second. And then if you have access to like a 4.0 Microsoft Copilot or OpenAI ChatGPT, that'd be a nice third to have.
Yeah, I love this, right? I love innovation. Innovation keeps us sharp. It keeps companies sharp. It keeps people sharp. But this is such a wildly paradigm shifting race of capital to innovation and it's just it's almost like new paradigm shifting innovations every other week. And so it's really hard to comprehend that it can be getting this much better this much faster. And so to see the size of the organizations contributing investments to this to try to get this better, right? Who's going to buy the next, 10,000 NVIDIA GPUs and have the better model? I mean, it's wild to see. And so, yeah, I love that. Awesome perspective there.
10,000. I don't know if you saw the last order for Grok 2.0 was 100,000.
Yeah, yeah. Just when you thought, getting 10,000 was hard, just let Papa Elon give the NVIDIA CEO a call, and poof, magic gets done, right? All right, so take us home here. Final thought. We're wrapping up kind of this AI SOC operations track. So okay, we've established we've got a talent shortage. Okay, maybe that gets better over time. We've done some previous episodes on building your own SOC and kind of thinking through what the costs are and why that kind of doesn't make sense. So if you look at what's coming, right? What we've sort of talked about in the last question, but over the next few years, how do you see SOC operations innovating, and just any other innovations that kind of you're looking most forward to?
Yeah, just to summarize it all up, I know we kind of discussed this a little bit previously, but I think the automations and the run books are going to expand. Like the more you can automate, the more efficient you can be, and the quicker you can be responsive to the threats that come in. I think that's going to be a big push. The more run books, people are going to prioritize. Hey, we're seeing this over and over again. Let's create a run book on it, and then we'll just establish it across the board. And then same with the Gen AI, the augment. So a lot of people are building these massive databases of all the different breaches that they've encountered. Looking at the public databases and stuff like that, and they're creating the not only just I wouldn't say the automated run book, but the manual run book on here's your next steps that you need to apply here. Let's take you from a beginning SOC analyst and turn you into somebody that's been around equivalent to like 5 or 6 years, and almost like train as you go type thing. And I think that's going to be the big push because again, it's going to be, saving the company money as they get more efficient and leverage these tools. And ultimately it's going to be, a lot more competition out there. So, the cost of these different services are going to go down. They're going to have to. But I think that's going to be like the big part of what stock ops are going to happen. But I think, you mentioned a little bit before was quantum computing. There's going to be a lot there that we don't know yet. I mean, everybody's assuming that there are different cryptography practices that are quantum proof. But, you're looking at RSAs already being confident being breached using Shor's algorithm, where it takes like the larger numbers and uses prime factors to get it down to something that's more easily understood. But a lot of the quantum stuff, we haven't even tested what the capabilities are because now we're looking at superposition to where everything that we've talked about now is binary to where it's either on or off. And the compute structure says a CPU or a GPU says it's either on, or when it's on, I need to make the calculation. When it's off, I'm sitting there in standby until it comes on again. So you have a certain direction where everything has to go in. There's a linear path for that. But with quantum computing and superposition, it could be on, it could be off, it could be both, it could be in the middle. So doing all these transactions all at one time, all the simultaneous processing that we haven't even been able to experience yet, it doesn't even, nobody knows what's going to happen yet. So I think SOCs are going to have to, kind of leverage the traditional, CPU, binary, GPU stuff, and they're going to try to automate that stuff as they learn the new stuff that's coming out with quantum computing.
Well, that's a lot of like monster future forward quantum. It's fascinating to me what's coming in this. I think you touched on some great points, and we might have to come back and do a track on quantum just to kind of break all of this down, because just like any of these innovations, I mean, it's just going to be here in your hands faster than you know it, right? We can already play on quantum computing and move qubits around on Azure and things that I would have thought were 5 years, 10 years out from now. So exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff.
I do have one thing to add on that. So a little tidbit of what's coming in the future. At Telarus Partner Summit, there is going to be a special breakout session that I am leading with with Cisco, to where the individual that I'll be talking to has started at least 4 different AI companies and now leads the AI push at Cisco. And we're going to be breaking down into a lot of these, how to secure AI, you leveraging AI, what AI threat vectors are out there. And then we're also going to end it. Keyword is we're not going to be focusing on, but we're going to be ending on some quantum computing discussions.
Spoiler.
So if you really want to nerd out,
go get registered. Telarus Partner Summit. Lots of good stuff in those breakout sessions. Exciting. Pop into that one. I want to hear more about quantum. So good. Okay, Kaufman, as always, a wealth of knowledge. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, that wraps us up. As always, do not forget, go find this wherever you're listening to, Spotify, Apple, subscribe. You get these notifications every Wednesday when this drops, so you don't miss this, and you can stay ahead of your competition with all these secrets and all the great things that folks like Jason bring to the table here in these conversations. So that wraps us up for today. AI at the helm, transforming SOC operations. Jason Kaufman, Senior Field Solution Engineer at Telarus. I'm your host, Josh Lepresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus.
Next Level BizTech has been a production of Telarus Studio 19. Please visit Telarus.com for more information.